Francis Ngannou did it. Man, he did it. He did it. He successfully made the leap. I mean, he went out there and did what everybody dreams of. Dude, Dana White has got to be over there like chewing on nails, man. That dude has got to be so upset. But you have to think that the money that Francis Ngannou is going to make between the Tyson Fury fight and now this fight with Anthony Joshua, that it's going to blow away whatever Conor McGregor made when he fought Floyd Mayweather. You have to imagine that it's going to blow that away. So when it's all said and done, this dude did it. I mean, think about it. It wasn't that long ago. This dude was the heavyweight champion of the UFC. I mean, the absolute top of the food chain, the king of the mountain. He had achieved that goal in just devastating fashion by going out there and just blowing dudes away with this ridiculous knockout power, just making all these waves, being the biggest thing. Dana White had been building him up over the years, saying, look, this dude looks like a heavyweight champion. This dude looks like what you imagine somebody's going to look like when they're dominating in the octagon and all these kinds of things. And then he's there. And Francis obviously wants to do more. And not necessarily more in the sense that he wanted to, move out of MMA right away, although he was talking about boxing, but he wanted more than what was the status quo in a lot of ways. He wanted more than what was the status quo in his pay. He wanted more than what was the status quo in the pay for his opponents, in the pay up and down the roster, in the pay for the card, in the way people were treated, all different kinds of concessions and things like that. He wanted to be able to work more, be more fluid in the way that he fought, in the sense that he wanted to go to boxing and see some things there. Obviously, the UFC wasn't interested in all those kinds of things. These dudes notoriously just have an iron lock grip control over everything that they do. Dana White came out after the Conor McGregor fight and said that he wasn't interested in that kind of thing happening anymore. So it just turned out that Ngannou was at the end of his contract and he walks away. Like, the dude walks away as the heavyweight champion. The reigning heavyweight champion, the belt strapped around his waist, turns around, leaves it on the table and walks out the door. I mean, how many times do you see that? I mean, that's insane, right? The ultimate bet on yourself, so to speak. Dana White comes out and makes a statement and basically says, look, Francis Ngannou's got these delusions of grandeur. Francis Ngannou thinks all of these great things are going to happen for him. He thinks he's going to go over to boxing. He's going to make all this money. He's going to be fighting Tyson Fury. He's going to be doing this and that. I don't see it. I don't see where all the money's going to come from. I don't see what he's talking about. I wish the man the best. But deep in his heart, we all knew what that meant. Deep in his heart, we all knew that meant that Dana White thought he had the upper hand, that he thought Francis Ngannou was acting crazy, that he thought he was just out there thinking more highly of himself than he really should, thinking he was worth more than he really was. And look at where we are now. Look at where we are now, man. The dude goes out there and puts on a performance that none of us thought he could put on against Tyson Fury. I'll be the first to admit, go back. You can see the video that I made. I said it was a gimmick fight. I said he had no chance. I said there's no way that Francis Ngannou is going to be able to go in there and do anything significant against Tyson Fury. He's not even going to be able to be in position to. Yeah, he's got a lot of power. He's not going to be in position to land that power. Yeah, he can do this. He's not going to be able to do that, blah, blah, blah. I was wrong. First to admit, I made that video before the fight. Right after the fight, I made a video talking about how wrong it was. Talking about how that was the absolute opposite of what we saw. Like, dude came out there. He was prepared. He was ready. He knew exactly what he needed to do in a boxing ring, and he looked good. Dropped the champ. Lost the fight, but overall, won incredibly huge. And that's evidenced by the fact that now he's getting this fight with Anthony Joshua. Oh, man, he's got to be on top of the world. I mean, think about where this dude came from, right? When you know his story, he came all the way from just absolute abject poverty. I mean, working in sand mines in Cameroon at like 10 years old or something. He was trying to get to Europe, and he was getting snatched up by some kind of authority, some kind of police, and he was getting left in the desert in the middle of the night. That they were hoping that he would starve, they were hoping he would freeze, and all kinds of stuff, and it happened to him multiple times. I mean, when you sit down, go watch the Joe Rogan podcast when he was on there as a guest. I mean, when you listen to this dude's story, man, it's something else. And to think that he came all the way from there, finally ended up making it to France. He's training in MMA. He finally makes it to America. He makes it to the UFC. He's doing this. He's doing that. Makes it to the top. He's fighting Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia. Now he's fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, talk about a storybook. I mean, you couldn't be happy. If you're upset about what happened, if you're hating on that guy at this point, you got to be in the running for Hater of the Year. I mean, that's how big your hating game has to be. How could you be upset about what this dude's done? How could you be upset about what he's been able to go out there and accomplish? And if you thought it was all gimmicky, right? If you were looking at the fight with Tyson Fury and you're such a boxing purist that you thought the whole thing was gimmicky and you didn't want to have anything to do with it, with the performance that he put on in that fight, you cannot look at this fight with Anthony Joshua and think it's gimmicky. You can't. How could you turn around and say that? Right? man, at the end of the day, I couldn't be happier. I can only sit and wonder. I can only speculate on what it's going to mean in the future for MMA guys, particularly for the UFC. Right, the UFC is just notoriously underpaying the majority of their fighters. There's been threats of unionization. They've got the lawsuit that's going on now with things on the way that they were. I don't know. I don't want to speak on it too much, but it's like unfair business practices, is my understanding, in the way that they were trying to be manipulative in the contracts or something along those lines. I've just been following it in little bits here and there, seeing about the pay and what guys are receiving and how they were getting title shots or contract negotiations and those types of things. But it's no secret. Some guys get paid through the roof. Like if you're looking at a Brock Lesnar, a Ronda Rousey, a Conor McGregor, there's some people that just absolutely clean up. And then there's other people that are getting paid, 20 and 20 after they've been there forever and they're complete veterans of the sport. So young guys coming in getting 4 and 4, 5 and 5s or whatever it is. It's not much money at all. And they don't have much room to negotiate. There's not much wiggle room. They have a lot of things over there locked down. So you have to wonder, what are those guys thinking now? What are those guys thinking when they see Francis Ngannou able to parlay what he was able to do in the UFC and able to parlay that into boxing, and how much more he was able to make, the freedom he has? I imagine the sponsorships that he's going to be able to get are going to be through the roof now, because we all know that's always been a raw deal ever since the UFC signed with Reebok. So fascinating stuff, man. Fascinating stuff. I couldn't be happier for the guy. Maybe he ends up just being a one-off, in the sense that not everybody can do that. We see guys here and there that are able to make that jump, that are able to more be, kind of working like a free agent or a freelance type role, and they're able to build off their popularity from the UFC and then take that over to somewhere else, and other guys aren't able to do it. I don't know. It'll be interesting. But either way, huge win for Francis Ngannou. Super interested in the fight. Super happy for him. I can't wait. The press conference is supposed to be, if I remember correctly, Eddie Hearn mentioned January 15th, and we're going to be getting more details and this and that. So should be awesome stuff. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys think. Are you looking forward to it as well? Are you happy for Ngannou in the way that he was able to play all this? What about Dana White? I mean, how much is that dude just got to be over there steaming? Let me know what you guys think.